This is our cattle panel vertical garden archway. And it's not an original thing, but it is something that we decided we'd incorporate with straw bale gardening and experiment. So this is what it looked like starting off in the spring. We actually have 3 of these panels laid out. Some are crossed over each other for stability, and it's anchored with cinder blocks on the left, and on the right we have a landscape timber, and the bales themselves are tied into the side, into the grids. So the plan was to put out plants once these bales got conditioned after about 12 days, 2 weeks, and set out squash plants on the left and cucumber plants on the right. And what we hoped would happen is that the squash would begin to climb up the trellis on the left, the cucumbers would do the same on the right, and they would meet at the top. In the back, we planted pole beans, purple pod variety, and also on the right, we're going to try these dry beans. This, I believe, I forget the exact name, I believe they're dragon tongue, but we're going to try growing these as well. So this was the first phase, and we came in and saw that we could plant in other plants like radishes to the left and nasturtium right there at the front. That's still going pretty well. Radishes have faded out a little bit now, but you can see the squash plants beginning to take hold, and the cucumber plants on the right are beginning to come up. In the back, we have purple pole beans coming up. They really like to take hold, and they were probably climbing at a really fast clip at this stage. In the front, we have a container oak barrel with some sweet potatoes growing. Now this is about a month and a half, about 6 weeks into the whole thing, and you can see the plants are really liking what's going on. You can also notice that the irrigation, the drip irrigation system is laid out, and it's done quite well. We have it on a timer, so these plants are getting regular waterings, and it's going right there into the root zone. Now, as the season goes and the days get longer, of course, the plants begin to thrive more and more, and you can see it's about an even race from left to right there. The beans have already gone to the top there in the back, but the cucumbers on the right and the squash on the left beginning to decline. About 3 weeks after that, we begin to see them really coming up, thickening. Flowers are out, and the females are showing some fruiting flowers, and they're getting closer and closer to the top. Eventually, we see different kinds of squash. Now, I would recommend you could put out just about any kind of squash, or even a pumpkin if you like. We'll see how the support goes with this, but it's important to plan these out so you don't get too overcrowded. You see in the foreground little yellow squash. It's a lemon squash, and then toward the back we have spaghetti squash as well as butternut, and they're doing great. On the right, we have mainly pickling cucumbers. Okay, so we've pulled a lot of cucumbers already by this time. The shot we took, the latest shot we took, shows some variety of squash. On the that elongated striped one is called a honey boat, and apart from the lemon squash, all these squash on the left are winter squash. And you can also see where the radishes that started out pretty good, we've harvested a fair number, but they're on those left-hand bales and they're beginning to diminish from the lack of the light. It's interesting though, toward the back, the beans are still just having a great time and going up. They've reached over the top of the back, and so they're covering the back end of this tunnel. So will we recommend this again? I think so. We've gone over to, if you look over to the left side of the structure, we started another one, and it's going to be quite similar, only beans on the right and pole beans on the right, and on the left some different kinds of squash and pumpkin. So we'll keep you all apprised of that. But that's it. This is a great system. It's so wonderful to walk in and under into the shade and be able to pick beans and cucumbers. And we're following the squash very closely. If they get too heavy, we'll have to take measures to help support them so they don't break off the stem. But I would say this is a really cool way to garden and save space. So if you all have any questions or ideas or thoughts or experiences with this, please let us know. We're at gardensall.com and also on Facebook. We'd be very grateful to hear from you. So happy gardening, everybody. We'll touch base later on. Thank you.